Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Joe Rogan Experience. Today, we have a very special guest joining us all the way from the Mojave wasteland. His name is Benny, and he is a tribal chairman representing one of the 4 families that rule over the post-apocalyptic desert. Benny, I think one of the things that our listeners are really interested in hearing about is how Mr. House was able to subjugate the tribes in the Mojave wasteland. Can you shed some light on that for us?
Sure, Joe. It's actually a fascinating story. You see, Mr. House was a very intelligent man, and he had a vision for the future of the Mojave wasteland. He understood that in order to achieve his goals, he needed to unite the various tribes under his banner. To do this, he used a combination of diplomacy and force. He negotiated with some of the more powerful tribes, offering them protection and resources in exchange for their loyalty. For those who refused to cooperate, he used his army of robots to crush their resistance and bring them under his control. Over time, Mr. House's influence grew stronger, and the tribes realized that it was in their best interest to align themselves with him. Eventually, he was able to consolidate his power and establish the New Vegas Strip as a thriving hub of commerce and technology.
Wow, that's really interesting. So would you say that Mr. House was a benevolent ruler, or was he more of a dictator?
It's a bit of a mixed bag, Joe. On the one hand, Mr. House was very effective at keeping the peace and maintaining order in the Mojave wasteland. He also invested heavily in technology and infrastructure, which helped to improve the quality of life for many people in the region. However, he was also a very autocratic leader who brooked no dissent. He had a very clear vision of what he wanted to achieve, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make that vision a reality. Some people saw him as a hero, while others saw him as a tyrant.
That's a really nuanced perspective, Benny. It's clear that there are no easy answers when it comes to leadership in a post-apocalyptic world. Thanks for sharing your insights with us, Benny. I'm curious, on a day-to-day basis, what does your role as a tribal chairman involve? What are some of the responsibilities that come with that position?
Well, Joe, my role as a tribal chairman involves a lot of different things. First and foremost, I'm responsible for representing my family and making sure that our interests are protected on the Strip. That often means dealing with the big man, as well as dealing with any threats that might arise. I also have to oversee the day-to-day affairs of my family, which can involve everything from managing our resources to resolving internal disputes. We have a strong sense of community within our tribe, and it's important to me to make sure that everyone is treated fairly and has a voice in the decision-making process. Finally, I'm responsible for preparing my family for any potential conflicts or disasters. The Mojave wasteland is a dangerous place, and we never know when we might be called upon to defend ourselves.
That sounds like a lot of responsibility, Benny. How do you balance all of those different roles and make sure that you're able to fulfill your duties effectively?
It's definitely a challenge, Joe, but I have a lot of support from my family and advisors. We work together as a team to make sure that everyone's needs are being met and that we're all on the same page when it comes to our goals and priorities. It's also important to stay informed about what's happening in the wider world. I spend a lot of time talking to the other tribes, as well as keeping up with the latest news and developments.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job, Benny. Thanks for sharing those thoughts. Before we wrap up, Benny, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on something. As you know, there are a lot of different factions vying for control of the Mojave wasteland and the Hoover Dam. Who do you think is most likely to come out on top in this struggle, and why?
Well, Joe, it's hard to say for sure. There are a lot of different factors at play, and the balance of power can shift quickly in this part of the world. That being said, I think it's important to remember that the Mojave wasteland is a place where strength and adaptability are highly valued. The factions that are able to maintain a strong military and economic presence, while also being flexible enough to respond to changing circumstances, are the ones that are most likely to succeed. Ultimately, I think the faction that is able to strike the right balance between these different priorities will be the one that comes out on top. Personally, either Vegas by itself or the NCR can serve this purpose, and hell, maybe even Caesar. It's a complex and unpredictable situation. Speaking of Vegas, I'd like to mention a little project I'm cooking up with Yes Man.
What is this project? Who's Yes Man?
Actually, forget it.
No, come on, dude. I really want to know.
I said forget it, Joe. I said nothing. Dude, leave me alone.
Okay, fine. Sorry, I overstepped my boundaries. Thanks for sharing your insights, Benny. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show today, and I'm sure our listeners will appreciate your perspective on life in the Mojave wasteland. Best of luck to you and your family in the days to come.
Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Welcome back, folks. It's time for a quick intermission, and I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you about one of my favorite places to stay and play when I'm in Las Vegas, the Tops Casino. Now, if you're anything like me, you love a good casino experience. And let me tell you, the Tops has got it all. From the moment you step through the doors, you're greeted with the excitement and energy that only Vegas can provide. The slot machines are ringing, the dealers are dealing, and the drinks are flowing. But what really sets the Tops apart is their commitment to customer service. The staff is always friendly and helpful, whether you're a seasoned gambler, a first-timer just looking to try your luck, or someone who has unfinished business to deal with. And the amenities are top-notch, luxurious rooms, delicious restaurants, and even a world-class spa for when you need to unwind after a long night at the tables. So if you're planning a trip to Sin City anytime soon, do yourself a favor and check out the Tops Casino. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Let me tell you about our sponsor for today's show. Have you ever found yourself wandering the wasteland, parched and desperate for a drink? Well, worry no more because our sponsor has the solution. Introducing Sunset Sarsaparilla, the official beverage of the Mojave Wasteland. It's the perfect combination of sweetness and carbonation that will quench your thirst and give you the energy you need to keep trekking through this unforgiving landscape. Now, I know what you're thinking. Joe, is Sunset Sarsaparilla safe to drink? I don't want to end up with radiation poisoning. Well, let me tell you, Sunset Sarsaparilla has been thoroughly tested and is completely safe to consume. Definitely. In fact, it's so good, you'll forget you're even in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Another question is, Joe, hasn't Sunset Sarsaparilla stopped production since the Great War? The answer is no. The NCR is actively building new manufacturing factories in the West, and those factories produce many products. One of those products is Sunset Sarsaparilla, which means it's in production again. So the next time you're out scavenging for supplies, be sure to grab a cold and refreshing bottle of Sunset Sarsaparilla. And don't forget to tune in to our show for more exciting adventures in the Mojave Wasteland. Are you tired of the same old casinos with their stuffy atmosphere and boring games? Then it's time to hit up the Atomic Wrangler, where the party never stops. At the Atomic Wrangler, we've got everything you need to have a good time. From our wide selection of hookers and slot machines and table games to our legendary live entertainment. And with our friendly whores, I mean staff, and our unbeatable prices, you won't find a better place to let loose and blow off some steam. But the Atomic Wrangler is more than just a casino. We're also your one-stop shop for all your needs in Freeside. From our full-service bar to our top-of-the-line hotel rooms, we've got you covered. And with our convenient location right on the Strip, you'll be in the heart of the action in no time. So what are you waiting for? Come on down to the Atomic Wrangler and experience the thrill of gambling like never before. Remember the Atomic Wrangler, where the fun never stops. Thanks to all you wonderful folks down at the Atomic Wrangler for sponsoring the Joe Rogan Experience, the new California Republic's #1 podcast. And can someone please tell Destiny that I've sent her payment via the Mojave Express? One of their couriers picked it up and is on their way to deliver it to her right now. I think it was Courier 6. And will someone also tell Destiny to stop threatening me? She keeps saying she's going to tell my wife about what we did, and honestly, I really don't need that right now.
Hail the People's Republic!